poppin', yo, welcome back to another YouTube video, and today I recently watched the Watchmen Chapter 1, which is a new animated movie by DC, which follows the story of the Watchmen. I did watch the original Watchmen movie quite a while ago, so if you do want me to review that over the next couple of days, please do let me know down in the comments below. I'll get on that as soon as possible. But I did watch this and I was pretty impressed. The animation is a lot better than the animation that we've recently had from the other movies, but I'm going to be honest, the Watchmen aren't as well known as some of the other DC superheroes, so I am shocked that this actually got a movie in the first place. But the Watchmen are, I don't know, they're not very popular like mainstream, but the people that know them like them. So this is like a movie with a set audience in mind, and I think that works in its favour. So without any delay, let's get into what this movie actually is about. So, you know, The Watchmen Chapter 1, it's a 2024 film which has a 7.2 out of 10 on IMDb, a 92% on Rotten Tomatoes, and an 8 out of 10 on IGN. And the story is about, in an alternate world, the murder of a government-sponsored superhero draws his outlawed colleagues out of retirement into a mystery that threatens their lives and the world itself. So how this story actually goes is with the Watcher. You know, there's no one actually called the Watcher. I don't know why I just said that. I'm being silly. So there's a guy called, like, there's a guy with, like, a white mask. I forget his name, like, Radroach. I don't know the names. The names are hard, okay? There's an owl guy, someone called the Comedian. There is a girl in Dr. Manhattan, who's the blue guy. And the girl and Dr. Manhattan, they are like going out, they're dating. Dr. Manhattan mistreats her because he's just sort of like living life, doing his own thing. He's just, you know, duplicating himself and not giving enough attention to her, not really caring about her feelings, and they fall out and she starts dating the Owlman instead of Dr. Manhattan. So, you know, they break up, they have a little bit of love turmoil, and the Comedian dies within the first 10 minutes of the film. Radroach, or Rawsoch, whatever the fuck he's called, White Mask Man, he is the detective. He's going around talking to all his friends, warning them about the masked murderer, warning them about, hey, you know, there's someone coming after, like, superheroes, someone coming after vigilantes, protect yourself, be warned, they are coming for you at some point, just be careful out there, I'm still your friend, I still want to look after you. They're all like, yeah, shut the fuck up, you're wrong, it's not gonna happen. And that is pretty much the movie. That's all that really goes on. There isn't a whole lot else in it. And it is Chapter 1, so we know for a fact that there's going to be Chapter 2, Chapter 3, and maybe even Chapter 4 at some point. We just know that there's going to be more than one movie. It has a really nice animation style, which has this sort of cel-shaded 3D-esque design, which looks really cool. Again, very similar to Borderlands, but a lot brighter and a lot more vibrant with colour schemes. The characters are also a little bit more brighter and colourful as well, with, well, especially Dr. Manhattan, who's like a bright blue. I feel like the story was quite boring and was very redundant. I've seen the original Watchmen movie and it felt exactly the same. And I don't know if the Watchmen have one storyline or if they have multiple. I don't know too much about the Watchmen. But after seeing the original movie and watching this, it's just like a straight copy and paste. It's going into a little bit more detail about some of the things. Again, the original movie was like 2 hours long. This was like, what, like an hour and 40 minutes, an hour and 20 minutes. It wasn't a long movie at all, but it does feel like it's going into a little bit more detail than the first movie went into, or the original movie that I'm going to call it. It just isn't that exciting and felt quite boring and repetitive to me. I do struggle rewatching movies because I know what's going to happen. Once I like watch the first couple of minutes, I remember the story, I remember what's going to happen, and I just can't watch it. So seeing this again was a big struggle to me because it was very similar to the original. It had a couple of extra new bits in it, and it did have a pretty nice art style, which I did like. It's very different to the art style that they had for Crisis on Infinite Earths, which was fucking diabolical. So the nice art style improvement was really good, and I can sort of understand why Crisis on Infinite Earths had shit art style. If this is what they were cooking up in the background, if this is what they were working on, this is what they had cooking in the background, this is what was like happening in the behind, you know, I'm happy, I'm excited, and I want more animated like this. I want more movies with this animation style. It's a really, really nice animation style. It's very smooth, it's very fluid. Some points it does feel quite robotic, quite stiff, but for the most part it did feel really nice and was really pleasing to watch and to look at throughout most of it. Also, I will be honest, I am much preferring of this version of The Watchmen, as they did take away Dr. Manhattan's penis. He no longer has a dick in this one. In the original movie, his dick was fucking hanging out everywhere. It's just there to be seen the entire way through the movie. It's not in this one, thank the Lord. I'm so grateful that they did not animate a penis onto this man. I'm so glad that he doesn't have one in this movie. I don't know how he was going to please his wife in that one scene without one, but I'm glad that it wasn't there, and I'm glad that I didn't have to see it. I'm glad that I did not have to see like a big, bright blue penis on my screen. I know, I'm talking about it a lot, but it was one of the main things which caught me off guard when watching the original film. Because halfway through the original film is when I realised I didn't even fucking notice it for the first part of the film, and it bamboozled me when I saw it, because I was like, holy shit, was that there for the whole film? Or was that just here for now? It was really weird, and I wasn't a fan of it. Like, goddamn, put on some clothes, please, man. So, him not having one here, much better choice, much nicer choice, much cleaner choice. And, again, the story was quite repetitive, the story was quite boring in itself. I didn't like the story in the original movie, I thought it was quite boring. It was just, Rad Roach Man, I don't know, Rawshank, I don't know what he's called, the White Mask Man. It was just him going around being a detective, being a dick to his old friends, and just being a dick in general, going around. There was very minimal sort of fight sequences, there was very minimal sort of action sequences, but when they were on screen, they were badass as fuck. When they did have action sequences, it was really nice and very visually, like, pleasing, but when they didn't, it was still visually pleasing, but it was so boring and draining. The best part about it was, like, the beautiful animation on the fighting. The rest of it was just them talking and, like, political crap, which I wasn't interested in. Because again, I've seen this film before, like I've seen the original. I don't want to watch this story again. It looks better than the original, I will admit. I do prefer it in an animated format. I think that works better for the film, but it is just a copy and paste of the original. It is just a copy and paste of the live action, and I'm not here for that. I'm not here for remakes. If you're gonna do it again, at least have a couple of different changes to it, a couple of like little design elements that make it your own, make it different, make it more entertaining. But they didn't. It is just a direct copy and paste. I don't know. I don't think the first one was a masterpiece. I don't think the live action was a masterpiece. I don't think the story is a masterpiece. I think it is pretty boring, pretty basic, and pretty like low bar. There is a couple of serious topics in it, but again, serious topics doesn't mean it's going to be a good film. Like, trying to tackle something quite serious doesn't mean it's going to be a great film. I was still quite bored watching this, and I just didn't have a good time. I just wasn't enjoying it. I was on my phone for the most of it, I'm going to be honest. I was looking up every now and then, keeping track of the story, but I was making like thumbnails, and I was sort of editing videos whilst I was having it on as like background noise, basically. This movie turned into background noise just because I wasn't enjoying it. I wasn't sort of interested in it. I wasn't locked in. This movie could not get me locked in for the life of me. I kept trying, like I kept like looking at it to try and get it to lock me in, but it just wasn't that interesting. The only thing it had going for it was the really nice animation style, but animation style doesn't carry. I would rather have a shitty animation style with a good story. It's good story first, animation style second. That's what I always prefer. Having a nice animation style doesn't mean it's going to be a good movie. Alright, you can still have a really shitty story, and I would prefer a good story. Like a good story, well thought out story, good meaningful story before animation. And if we get both, that's a Billy bonus. That's great. Having both is really nice, really exciting, really sort of thrilling, but this movie has one, and it's not the one that matters, I'm gonna be honest. I know a lot of people worked hard on the animation, and that's what I am giving the credit for. The story is really slow Again, like I said, they took the original and added extra parts to it, and it didn't finish the original story either, so it just felt a lot more dragged out, a lot more sort of drawn out, and they were just adding stuff in to make it longer. It wasn't that great. It was just putting stuff in for the sake of putting stuff in to make it have a longer runtime, and how they can drag it out into like chapter 1, 2, and probably even 3, which I'm not looking forward to. I don't want there to be 3. Please let there be 2. I've watched this one, so I now have to watch chapter 2. I have signed myself up for chapter 2, and I regret that decision. I saw this movie, and I'm like, oh, it's a short movie. I can watch this one. I don't have long, so watch a short movie. Let's get into it. And I fucking regretted it. This movie is no more than a 4 out of 10 for the animation alone. I don't think the characters are very interesting. The characters are all one note. Voice acting is actually quite good, I like that, but the characters are very one note. They don't have anything special going for them. Again, because this is just chapter 1, this is just the beginning of the story. They don't have any character arcs, and I don't think chapter 1 works as its own movie. It sets up number 2 quite nicely, but it doesn't work on its own because nothing gets resolved, nothing gets answered. It just leaves a lot more questions than answers, and the characters don't have a satisfying conclusion. They don't have a satisfying arc. They don't have any of that. It's got an okay soundtrack. I quite like the music to it, so it's got that going for it as well, but story-wise, it's fucking nothing, dog. It's 4 out of 10. 4 out of 10 from me.